Chira Show. I'm Pastor Chira, and today we launch. We launch into new mindset, we launch into new territory, we launch into new relationships. Are you ready to launch out? Come on and launch out with me as we go into this conversation. As you're aware, in the month of June, we are honoring men. And I was like, okay, so we're going to do this in the month of June because we know that June is Men's Health Awareness Month and we're all conscious of those things. But I really wanted to make sure that we focus on men and honoring them and celebrating them for all that they do. Because we know that Father's Day is also in the month of June. And so I am honored to be here today with three men, three of the four of the men that have helped me become who I am today. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be who I am today. Three of the four, because one is always missing. You know there's one that's always missing. We'll get to that in a second. But today I am joined by my father, Pastor Bernard C. Smith. He's the pastor of Mount Vernon Baptist Church. He has been the head pastor for over 30 years, about 35 years now, I believe. I'm also joined by my eldest brother, Dwayne McIntyre, who he was the first one that, put me in the shape here. He's the one. Yes. And then we're here with my youngest brother, David, Pastor David Sean Smith, who is, he is the father of four, 2 girls, 2 boys. Dwayne is the father of 2, and he's the grandfather of many. We'll get to that too. And then I also have my other brother, Derek, who is not with us today, but he is also the father of 3. And so we are going to get into this conversation with these 3 that are here today. Welcome to the Pastor Chira Show. I'm so nervous right now.
I can tell.
I've never seen this before. I've never seen this before.
Why am I so nervous?
I ain't never seen this before.
We sit and we talk all the time, but this is so different. I'm so glad that you guys came and you're here with me on the show. How are you today?
Good.
Y'all good?
Yeah,
Y'all good?
Really good.
I'm geeked out. I know. This is really weird, but I mean, it's exciting because this is something that we've never done before, right? We sit and we talk and we get together all the time, but we don't do stuff like this. And so, and like I said, I really want to honor you guys because I would not be who I am without you guys being who you are to me, but the fathers that you are. So first of all, let's talk about that part about who you are to me. We're gonna do that first because so how has being a big brother, a son, how has that shaped you into being the father that you and the fathers that you are today?
So for me, it's all about patience. I am not one for patience.
No, you're not.
And I'm still not one for patience.
At all.
You're not patient?
Not at all.
So, but I've learned through coaching and through being a father that you have to have patience because not everybody does everything at the same time or at the same pace. And for me, patience is a big key. I learned years to be more patient. I'm still getting there. It's nowhere near where I should be. But for me, it's all about being patient.
See? Okay.
Okay. You're going to just turn it right on over there.
I think as the youngest, being the youngest child and trying to figure out also having sort of a replica of our family, it's been important for me to look at the positives and the negatives of what I was able to live and experience. And each one of our roles in our nuclear family helped me figure out what my role should be and how I could help my kids live into their God-created selves, you know. So like Dwayne and Joshua are very, very similar in person and just pushing them towards each other, because I don't know what that is. And you and Michaela just pushing y'all towards each other because no idea how to do that. And then me and Gabriel being very similar to each other, but also with me and Noel having shared a birthday. It's really interesting to see how God allowed for the family that, and I'll share the family that I was placed into but didn't necessarily get to enjoy for all of my days as I was being reared. He sort of replicated that and allowed for grace to be established in my own home when I had one myself.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Very interesting.
What about you?
That's strange.
It's strange.
It's strange because I listen to these two guys and how they have developed relationships with one another as they were coming up. And I did not.
I wish y'all knew.
My son.
Yeah.
How their relationship was mended together as they were growing to a large degree. I didn't have that brotherhood. I didn't have that. I had a sister who was 5 years younger than I.
Right.
But other than that, I didn't have that relationship. However, we had a large family, and I grew up in a family with a lot of people always there in the house, all cousins.
Right.
And we developed relationships as cousins, but in a lot of relationships, we were like brother and sister. So I look to them a lot, and I find that a lot of things that go on, I developed with these guys, and with you as you were growing up. But it's been interesting learning how guys, how gentlemen, how boys grow and develop in early years, so that when they come to a place of really understanding who they are, it's something that I have never experienced myself, but I learned through them a lot about myself.
From your sons.
From my sons.
From your sons. And it's interesting because that you say that you learned a lot from your sons, because let's be honest, like us growing up, it wasn't always close, it wasn't always tight. We weren't always together. How did that formulate you in your development? Just the closeness but the separation all at the same time, because even though we weren't always together, we were still close at times, right? Even in our separation. How did that help develop you in being the fathers that you are even today?
I got that one. I would love that one. That's like slow pitch softball.
You was on it?
Yes, please. I feel like that, like the Bible says, Jesus learned obedience through the things that he suffered. And I feel like I learned in a short period of time how to do what I would not have otherwise been able to do, and how to pass on life lessons in a short period of time to my kids in a way that allowed me to like make the most of every single moment, So like when Dwayne was very similar, small things like, David, your socks match your pants. Your socks are an extension of your pants.
Yep.
You don't know how many times my boy I don't care how fancy other people do that. Your socks are an extension of your pants. Match your socks to your pants. That's my lesson. That's what I learned. Things like that. Like if you got Nike shorts on, wear Nike socks, wear a Nike shirt. You see how but like very, very small things that are poignant, and they put you in a trajectory of manhood, what kind of undershirts to wear, like how to match all of the things, like your life, your person to your lifestyle, how to put ambition sometimes aside, but also put it in the front of you so that you can still be the man that you're created to be, while also taking care of the people that God's given you responsibility for. I feel like the positives and negatives of all those lessons have been really important to me because it makes me, it has helped me, not makes me, but it's helped me maximize every single moment so that I don't waste time.
You don't waste time.
And that's a wasted time it's tough because every person thinks their time is more valuable
Right.
than somebody else's.
Jeez.
So to manage that is an art in itself because you're still developing as a man or a person, as a human being. You're still responsible for these other people too.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're progressing, they should be progressing also.
Right.
So as far as like you said, managing time and the small things, they're always going to remember the small things.
Yeah.
They might not remember the big things, but they're always going to remember the small things and how much time you took to let them know how important the small things are.
Right.
So I think that's my big thing is concentrate on the small things and the big things will work themselves.
They really will.
So,
Does it happen it just happens? Like do you focus on okay. Do you
Nothing just happens.
Nothing happens.
nothing just happens?
Nothing just happens. We're meant, we're intentional. Like in the beginning, God created it just happened. Like He had to at least speak. Like you gotta say good morning to brush your teeth. Like, you know what I mean? You gotta do something. So nothing just happens. That's yours. Go.
That's true. Nothing just happens because a lot of it's in training. As these guys were growing, as they came into the world, it was the concept within my mind to develop them, help develop them in the manner that God would want them, and not only in the manner that God would want them, but in the manner that I want to see them. I wanted to see them grow into.
I like that.
that was cool.
That was.
I wanted to see them grow into patient, well-developed young men and middle-aged men, so that they could develop others as they came in contact with others in relationships. So it was hard because there were some things in my life that being an only boy with a couple cousins, male cousins, but in the literal household, I was the only guy there. There were some older women, and that wasn't really helping me. Being around women all the time was not allowing itself to really assist me in developing to be the man that I was supposed to be. So I was looking elsewhere for those things, and I strove a lot to do it and to find it, and hopefully I found what I needed to find. In developing and looking at these guys as they were growing, it was hard for me, harder for me to train them, help them grow into the gentlemen and the men that they needed to be, because I was still trying to find who I was.
My God.
Wow.
My God.
It's a hard situation. So as I'm looking for me, I'm looking at them. Even today, I look at them. I look at David as being a pastor now. I look at him and say, I could have done things differently during the years, my younger years as pastor, and developed a better congregation, a different congregation. I look at Dwayne and say, as he was growing, I look at his relationship with his brothers and see what he was doing with them and saying, why didn't I have that with my cousins? Why couldn't they help train me a little bit better instead of being distant from me? It was this hard situation.
So, wow, you guys have, said a lot. But we are going to go to a quick commercial break. And on the other side, we talked about the family part. I want to get into the being a man of God part, and how developed into that part in your life and being a father and transforming that. So we're going to go to a commercial break, and on the other side, we will talk about being the men of God that they have developed to be. We'll be right back.
You can join us virtually or at the church located at 458 East Rittenhouse Street in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
We're back. And so we're in our conversation with Pastor Smith, and Dwayne McIntyre.
I'm undercover.
You're undercover. And in the first part of the conversation, we were talking about the family and how family has shaped them as being the fathers and the men that you are. But I wanted to dip into a little bit of how ministry and church and your relationship with God, how that's developed and how that has helped you become the men that you are, or has it had any impact on your development in becoming the man and the men that you are today?
It definitely has an impact. For myself, I'm more of a teacher, but not in the sense of a pastor teacher. I teach in a way by example. I show people and guide them in ways that being and part of God being in my life has helped me find that patience for me, because I just don't see things like everybody else sees things. I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I just don't. And for me, having God in my life, having a daily devotional, it's helped me develop that, because like I'm a background guy. I mean, I just like this. I sit back. You ask me advice, I tell you advice. But I'm never going to be that upfront guy.
Right.
I'm never going to be that upfront guy.
Right.
And for me, I've taken steps to maybe kind of myself a little bit, but I'm always that back. For me and God, it's also humble me to keep it humble. You know what I'm saying? Because I like to be humble. I like to be stable. I like to be motivated. I like to be secure in certain things, certain aspects when it comes to God and my teachings. To help guys, young men, mold themselves to be done and God also.
Okay. But so I guess what I hear you saying is that being in the forefront is not what you see for yourself.
No, because I mean I've had people prophesied over me plenty of times saying I'm going to be a pastor, and I'm like, okay, I'm glad you see it.
Word.
You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
I'm glad you see
I
it.
like your man.
But until he tells me, I haven't heard that, and I keep telling him he hasn't said that to me. So until he says it to me, then I'll be where I'm at.
Which is?
I'm on the usher team. I lead life groups, and like I said, I'm that guy.
He shapes men. That's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He shapes men. One of the things that was most pivotal in my life with God was a conversation I had with Dwayne while I was in college, where he was going through a tough time, and I'm newly saved, trying to figure out what it looks like to be like this Christian ambassador of sorts that the church tries to tell you to be. And we're sitting down and we're talking. He's talking to me, and I'm praying like, Lord, tell me what to say. What am I supposed to do? Oh my God, tell me what to say. Oh Jesus, give me the words. This, that, the other thing. And I was like, well, Dwayne, if you give your life to Christ, He'll make everything better. And he looked at me and he was like, how? You see, that was my answer right there.
Right.
Crickets.
Stop.
I had nothing. I had nothing to say. And he was like, see, that's what I'm talking about, David. You can't just say things without having the backing with life experience to say what you're supposed to be saying.
Exactly.
So until you've learned it, stop talking to me. that lesson right there, it put me on the path to what I needed to be with regard to my life with Christ. Like, it was the thing. He shapes men, is what he does. And just by living life with people, he just shapes men.
By being that.
Living life with people, by just being right there. And when you have a question, he's there to answer it. He'll argue all the way through it. Like, you call Dwayne, boy, yeah, that's the first thing. Boy, but he's going, I'm in the car. You hear keys jingling because he's yelling at you. You should have taken care of this. You should have taken care. But he's just a shaper of men.
Yeah.
And that, having men like that around me, like from the frat, from life, from the people that are around me. God's just a statement that a counselor told me was, God's placed you in careful hands. And I'm grateful for God having placed me in careful hands at every point, every stage of my life.
So you see that as what has helped develop you even in your walk with Christ.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like there's in the chapter that I'm active in, there are 5 pastors in that chapter. And it's just an iron sharpening iron experience in my life where I serve and how I serve. It's not necessarily that I'm surrounded by people like men of faith, but I do my best to surround myself with people that are men of character. And faith comes in all kinds of forms. Like I'm not a discriminatory or a Christian supremacist. But I am absolutely somebody that looks for people of character.
Yes.
Whether you're living it at present or not, like whether you're trying to figure out what character looks like for you or not. I mean, it is what it is. We all go through our, as the Amish say, our Rumsprache of sorts, you know.
Right.
Like you get your season where you can be a whole fool.
Yep.
And all of us do it. But and when you come to know that it's time to come out of that, then come out.
Come out.
I'll be here when you're wilding.
Right.
And I'll
Right.
be here when you're chilling. But it is what it is.
Because isn't that what we're supposed to do? Like we're supposed to, like we are supposed to be in one another's lives throughout. Like it's not, we don't pick and choose. Like when, okay, you're doing good right now, so okay, I can be seen with you.
Right.
But you know when you're wowing out, when you're going through that word that you said, you know what I mean? Like, you know, oh, I don't want anything to do with you. I'm separating myself with you. And we've seen how people can do that, and they have done that, even in our own lives, like where, you know, people have been there, and then all of a sudden they're not, and those are the things that help to shape us in becoming who we are, to be the examples that we have been even to others. But so your Christian background, your religious background, how has that helped shape you as the man that you are, and in you being an example to other men, not just your sons, but other men in general? Because there are a lot of people that call you dad. So
yeah, that's true. That's an interesting statement, an interesting question. Listening to these guys, I find that a lot of what they have done in early life has helped develop me as an older man. Looking at them, being the father that I was to them, and not even having them in my presence a long time of their early lives, I was striving to be a father and a dad to them in early life, and learning to deal with them. So in my learning to deal with them, I was learning to deal with others in my congregation. In dealing with those in the congregation, I learned who different personalities were, what different personalities were, how to deal with different personalities, and how to handle them. And then looking back at these guys and finding that they were really unique individuals. So I had to develop a relationship with every individual that I was coming in contact with, to learn how to deal with them, to help guide them in the way that they needed to go, to know the Lord better. I can't say anybody actually knew the Lord. I don't know. I don't know what their personal relationship is, but I strove to help them know God better in relationship to where you are now or tomorrow, knowing a little bit more about God.
So what about you? Like how did it help, like your relationship with God? How did it help develop you?
Which part of that are you talking about?
So in your growing up, in your rearing, in you developing your relationship, how did that help develop you to be the man that you are? Or did it?
I have sometimes questions about that because I didn't really have male relationship as I was growing up. In the household that I lived in, they were all women.
Right.
My grandfather was there early in my life, and I think he died when I was 5. So that early relationship was far gone. My other uncles were separated from them. I saw them approximately once a month. So I got a little bit of feedback every now and then. They drop by and say, "Hey, how you doing? What you doing?" and smack me upside the head every now and then.
Right.
But then when I got to church, I found some other guys that I would hang with.
Okay.
And as I hung with those guys, I developed or gleaned some of their experiences and started learning from their experiences, so that as I was growing, things were changing in my life.
Okay.
I would say that not a problem, but I was called into ministry at an early age. That early age was like 15, 14, 15. And I didn't want to go. I didn't want to do it because I didn't know what I was doing. And being the first person in the family ever being called into ministry, I had no relationship with anybody that I could really say help teach me.
And that's what we do. We honor one another and we support one another. I thank you guys for joining us on the Pastor Chira Show on today. I thank you for joining us. I pray that God has given you something in this conversation and that you were able to glean that will help you even in your path of becoming the person that God has created you. God bless you, and until next time, may God bless you.